You're listening to Casting Class, an engineer's guide to manufacturing aluminum castings, hosted by Batesville Products. For over 75 years, Batesville Products has been engineering, casting, machining, inspecting, and polishing aluminum castings for over 70 industries nationwide. In today's episode, we'll continue to share our experience and industry secrets. Casting Class is in session. Tim's going to talk today a little bit about the state of the foundries. Go ahead and hand it over to Tim Weber.
Hey, folks. It's kind of interesting times we've come through. So, we worked through a lot of issues in the past couple of years with supply chain issues, availability of materials, price of materials, lead times, scheduling. A lot of people have left the workforce. What we're noticing also currently is we're seeing a lot of folks, believe it or not, retiring, which brings up some interesting things as far as training the next generation. Some of the good things, I guess, recently is the metal has stabilized, and it looks like the supply chain issues have kind of normalized, which is good. We still have some long lead times with a lot of folks, but it looks like as we started heading towards the end of this year, things are going to level out quite a bit. The retiring and training some of the workforce, that's a big deal for us in particular, but what we're noticing is throughout the industry, a lot of good information, a lot of things that have been just handed down through the generations. And we're finding this ourselves, coming up with, training videos, trying to capture information with folks before they actually leave the workforce, and trying to get some of the tribal knowledge, in a place that we can transfer it to the next generation or to the folks coming up that, have an interest in the foundry industry. It's exciting because we see a lot of interest in some of the younger folks graduating from college and moving through the trade schools. So we get a pretty interesting and dynamic workforce going on right here in our facility. And I noticed similar type of things being mentioned by some of the other folks and some of the other foundries that we deal with. They're seeing some of that same type of thing. And then, when we were all struggling with labor, and we still are, the push for robotics and any new types of advancements, what can we do to shorten, from point A to point B to get a casting cast and then through the facility? And a lot of it is automation, but some of it has to do with chemistry. How can we make a better aluminum part? How can we shorten lead times and distances between different processes? So a lot of dynamic things going on in the foundry industry. So what are you seeing, Tim Williams?
I think on the retiring workforce, something you and I have talked a lot about that is very interesting and may not be made aware to everybody out there is the stat that we heard is over the next 2.5 years, the labor market is losing 9.5 million people that won't be replaced. And that's due to the size of the baby boomer generation, as well as the generations that follow. And really, there's no way to make that up. You can't just reproduce that amount of people all of a sudden and have them available in the labor market. But that's a big workforce that's retiring and really pushing, I think, as you mentioned, on the robotic side of things. And I think, if you're not in the robotics and you're not looking at advancements on that side, you're steps behind at this point. I think, what you mentioned a little bit as well is the foundry industry. There have been a number of companies that take on the casting itself. You see it a little bit across the market, but really it's still an expertise that's needed out there. And with a shrinking market of available casting suppliers, according to American Foundry Society data, the foundries that are out there are taking on more and more work as well. So having less people to work, having more need for work, again, if you're not on the robotic side of things, I think there's a lack or a step behind there.
Kind of piggybacking off what you said, Tim, I don't think it's just a unique thing in the foundry industry. I know we were at a trade show last week talking to a bunch of different manufacturers, and I think just manufacturing in general, seeing a lot of increases in robotics. The workforce is ever changing, and I think looking at suppliers and what's the best way to make your product. I think it's always a good time to relook at all that stuff.
Yeah, and it's great too, as you said, the generation retires, a lot of that quality and knowledge goes with them. So when you add in the robotics, you're helping to bring in a little bit more consistency back into the manufacturing process.
Guys, I had a question from John, and I think I have the answer for this, but he was asking if we could provide the number of approximate U.S. foundries today. So John, roughly it's about 1,600 different foundries. But as I mentioned previously, a lot of those foundries are encapsulated within a certain company. So if there's a company, maybe like Toyota, could be a good example. If Toyota has a casting that they want, sometimes they'll take on a foundry within their facility. And that's across a number of different industries. Sorry, let me rephrase that. It's across a number of different types of processes. So it could be die casting foundries, it could be sand casting foundries, investment casting, permanent mold casting. So it's a number of foundries within the industry, but also within companies that need castings itself. So not a ton out there, but a lot of work that needs to be done.
I also feel like your conversations with your customers, Tim, it seems like our sales team is closer to our customers than ever. It seems like we really truly are an extension of each other. Even we're not running their business, they're not running our business, but the flow of information is so much it's seamless. I also kind of see that with our employees, and that the feedback loop is closer, is more direct. We're getting better information, more qualified information that we can use to improve the process through our employees. It just seems like everybody's getting closer because we need to, right?
Obviously, if there's a client that comes to us, they see a value that we provide for them, and it may be a value that they can't do internally. We see the same with our workforce. So, we have a lot of people, and we're hiring a lot of people to come in and apply expertise that may not have been at Batesville Products before. Different things that they've seen in different markets, or even in different types of casting processes that they could either apply to what we're trying to do here. A lot of times too, people are excited about what they can learn here and what they can take away, really in their everyday life as well. So interesting times for sure. I think it's a market that needs to be monitored, because again, there's a lot of foundries that are shutting doors, but the work stays there, and it continues to grow. And I think choosing a very good supplier to be able to do that and create those relationships with the value side of things is very important moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. It's an exciting time. It really is.
You're listening to Casting Class, an engineer's guide to manufacturing aluminum castings, hosted by Batesville Products. Be on the lookout for our next casting class on the first Wednesday of every month. Until then, you can find more resources like videos, written guides, and case studies on our website, batesvilleproducts.com. That's batesvilleproducts.com. See you next month.